Hello, and welcome to episode 310 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm
And
Brian,
I'm James.
and today we're gonna work through some more of the Aether Drift sets. We're gonna pick up on black cards.
Yep, we'll get as far as we can, and then I don't. I know we're not going to get through them all, so we'll probably finish up next week.
All right. So if you have any cards you want us to add to the list or talk about that we may have missed, please reach out to us on social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky.
Yeah,
And emails there too. So come in and say hey.
yeah,
Also, let me know if you're gonna be in Chicago.
yeah. Coming up.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah, get to meet and greet with Brian. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to make the trip. Some work stuff happened, and
Stupid adult
I
responsibilities.
know. Yeah, they pay me too damn much. It's a problem. I can't just walk out. Trust me, I'd love to. Yeah, adult
Agreed.
stuff. Yeah. Like Brian said, all the links for that social media stuff are down in the description. Reach out, hit us up, let us know what you think. If you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, buy whatever Magic products you're gonna buy anyway. Singles from Aether Drift, singles for your cube, singles for a deck you're gonna put together. Even if you're just buying, sleeves and stuff, they sell all that stuff too. You guys are gonna buy it anyway. If you're not supporting your local game store, we'd appreciate it if you use TCG Player and use our link so that we get a little cut to help keep the show going. If you want to support us more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Chip a couple bucks in, help the show out. That funds us directly instead of using an affiliate link. And you get a couple bonuses. The first is our patrons get access to our show notes early, so you get a sneak peek about what the show is going to be about. Also, sometimes there's stuff in here that doesn't make it into the show, little asides. All that stuff is in there. And patrons also get access to about another hour of content out of us every week in the form of our unshow. We're old, sometimes our equipment doesn't work, and we always need to catch up. So we spend about an hour before every show just doing whatever, talking about whatever, happened the previous week in our own day-to-day lives, or, just catching up. You never know what we're going to talk about because we don't know what we're going to talk about. And we record it, don't edit it, don't anything, and just ship it off to our patrons. That's why we call it the unshow. It's unscripted, unedited, unplanned, everything.
Except for interesting. It is very interesting.
It's always interesting. That is true. If either of those sound good to you, or if you just want to support the show, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG, and help us out. Chip a couple bucks in.
Yeah. All right. So we're picking up on Aether Drift cards from Black.
We are.
And the first one is horrific art.
Oh, really? I kind of like the art.
I don't know. I'm partial to the old art, but it's Bloodghast.
You know which art I really prefer for Bloodghast, unfortunately?
What's this?
The Secret Lair art.
Oh, what is the Secret Lair art? Now I have to look. So Bloodghast is black for a 2/1 vampire
Spirit.
Yep. And this creature has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. And then landfall, whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, you may return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yep. It also can't block.
I was going to say, did I say it can't block? It
Yep.
can't block. So this is a card that is great to never cast.
Yes.
It is a great thing to discard for an effect. It's a great thing to mill and then get back later.
It's also great sacrifice fodder.
Yes. So think about things like Insidious Roots.
Mm-hmm.
Things like if you go back to Pioneer, Prized Amalgam, these Prized Amalgam and Bloodghast are best friends if you have a way to flip your deck over rather quickly.
Yep.
This card is kind of everything that graveyard decks want.
Yep.
It's Bomat Courier's best buddy.
It is.
Discard your hand full of Bloodghast.
Yep. Hopefully put a land into play out of the cards that were under the courier.
Yeah, it's a card that doesn't feel like it's the type of card that they would put into Pioneer,
Right.
right?
It feels a little
But
cheaty.
yeah, it's like, but the problem is it's not good in Modern anymore.
Yeah.
And like there's a chance that it could create a like unique archetype
Yeah.
in Pioneer and Standard, right? Like you have Tyvar still,
Yep.
you have Insidious Roots, you have this, you have like a number of like other things to like put things in the graveyard in Standard.
Yeah.
So like it could like do some interesting things, but it's like too fair for Modern, or maybe not powerful enough.
Yeah.
Like unfair enough, but not powerful enough.
Yeah.
So like it seems like it's just like it's either doesn't get to get played or it just gets to move into like Pioneer and see if it finds a home there.
Well, like the one thing that I kind of find interesting about Bloodghast, well, I mean, there's a lot of things. I really like this card. I always have. But in Pioneer, I feel like they're sculpting an archetype in a way that they didn't for Modern. Like they have granular control over the archetype. I think they're paying more attention to cards that they print. I know when they launched Pioneer, they were like aggressively handling the ban list to make sure that this format was sculpted into something that was fun to play. And I think that's the key, is they're looking for archetypes that are fun. And all of the decks that Bloodghast is in, all of the different little sub-archetypes are very fun to play. While also like not being oppressive to play against. Like a lot of fiddly archetypes, kind of like, you know, the decks that Bloodghast would be in, a lot of times aren't very fun to play against, like as the opponent or whatever. But I don't think like the Bloodghast decks typically are super like oppressive, or you feel like you have no agency or anything. You know, you can interact with them.
Yes.
Especially like this card in particular, because it can't block. Like it doesn't ever really feel like they're getting value off of it, but it never really like puts you super far behind.
Yeah, like it's not
It's not locking the game down.
As I say, it's not Cauldron Familiar.
Right.
Where like Cauldron Familiar is a like card that is very similar, but like just invalidates your biggest ground creature.
Yep.
This doesn't get to do that.
Yep.
No,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, cards like we have Citrus Supplier, we have Satyr Wayfinder, we have the new green enchantment, there's Grizzly Salvage.
Yep.
Like there's a ton of ways to like put things in your graveyard and then get them back.
Yep.
And get a land back and get your Bloodghast back.
So if it's okay, I do want to spend a little bit of time like kind of getting into the nitty-gritty with Bloodghast a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, maybe we could do an episode on this after we're done with this, if like people are interested. But like what we kind of touched on some archetypes that Bloodghast has been good in the past. Like, do we think Bloodghast might be good, or do you think those decks might be good in Pioneer now? Like, there was a point when like the Creeping Chill decks, the like Dredge and Pioneer was maybe not tier 1 but playable.
Like Dredgeless Dredge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, does that get any better with? Obviously, it gets better with Bloodghast. Do you think it's like playable again?
I think like maybe from a power level standpoint, yes. Like you've got enough things like Silver Smoke Ghoul, Prized Amalgam, Narcomoeba. Now, like you have all of in Creeping Chill, you have all of the Dredge payoffs from Modern from 10 years ago,
except for Conflagrate.
Except for Conflagrate. But like, you know, are your enablers of Stitcher Supplier? What is the one blue Surveil 3?
Merfolk Secret Keeper?
No, that's the mill one. The one that has like flashback.
Oh, yeah.
And then what is it Tome Scour? Yeah. Then you have like, I guess Tome Scour is just Merfolk Secret Keeper, kind of. It's mill 5.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe that is Pioneer legal. I think it was in like some random, is it M14? So
Yeah.
it should be Pioneer legal. So like you have like enough stuff for like just fill graveyard quickly
Mm-hmm.
that like it can work. So like maybe the one, oh, I forget what it's called. The one that lets you surveil is at least good because like you can put your blood gas in and like hit your land drop as opposed to just blindly milling.
Yeah.
But you have at least 16, like 4 sets of 4 cards that put a lot of cards in the graveyard on turn 1.
Yeah.
So there's Tome Scour does 5, Merfolk Secret Keeper does 4, Stitcher Supplier does 3,
Yep.
and the card I cannot think of does 3.
Yeah.
So like that's enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's like a dredge.
Yeah.
Right? You're just you're lacking the put 10 cards in your graveyard
Right.
quickly aspect of it, but it seems like there's enough stuff that you could just go super hard.
Yeah.
And like, if you go like Tome Scour mill 4 or 5, Merfolk Secret Keeper mill 4, like you've got 9 cards in your graveyard, you probably have some things that you can like realistically get back off a land. Is there, I guess there's only like 1 land that you can play from your graveyard and it costs mana.
Yeah. Drown whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, the Drown Yard thing.
Yeah.
But it's like 3 mana to play it, so like that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like if they have a land that came back, that would like be useful.
There's I think there's a random revolt card that puts a land in play, isn't there? Oh, the new thing that puts lands in play. The one from I don't know, like 2 sets ago, 3 sets ago. Like it's green, but mills and then puts lands in play. They played it with Insidious Roots.
I think I know what you mean.
It costs mana, but
Yeah. But like just trying to think of like some way that like if you mill your lands, you could like get one back to get your triggers.
yeah. What about hypothetical Hollow One Mako decks?
Mako Shark.
Yeah.
There's not enough good ways to like discard.
Well, you mentioned Bomat Courier earlier.
Bomat, but like Burning Inquiry is like 3 for 4, right? You spent the Burning Inquiry and then you
Burning
drew
Inquiry is
3.
not Pioneer legal.
That's what I mean. Like
yeah.
we don't have like that, or we don't have like a good way to like just spin your wheels.
Yeah.
And like draw and discard, and the like discard 1, draw 2 effects.
Yeah.
Aren't good enough for that.
True.
Like you need like for a Hollow One, you need to discard 3 cards in a turn.
Yeah.
Right, to like make it work. There's not like a good way to do that.
We have Lava Axe though, right?
We have Lava Axe. So that's like 1. And then like I guess the closest is Collective Brutality.
Yeah.
Right, like you could pick like all 3 modes.
Yeah, and just pitch a bunch of cards.
Mm-hmm.
What about like Looter Scooter?
Yes, and like I was thinking that like remember when Pioneer first started like the mono black decks that were like Looter Scooter decks, and they're what got Looter Scooter banned.
Yeah.
Right, like could you have like a like mono black deck that
maybe
used Looter Scooter and then had Blood Gas as like this recursive like grindy threat where you're like a Thought Seize removal deck and you have like Looter Scooter and Shieldred, but a lot of those decks have become like red-black decks.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's kind of what I was
just
thinking was red-black.
is Fable.
Oh yeah, Fable.
Yeah, like
this works with Fable.
So like, yeah, I guess like Mako Shark and Looter Scooter and this and Fable.
Yeah.
Kind of like makes it Lightning Axe kind of makes a deck. Yeah, I could maybe see it. It'd be nice if there was like going Grixis for like price. It'd be nice if there was another way to get stuff back.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think like Haunted Dead with like with the shark where you're like
maybe
discarding stuff to Haunted Dead like prized amalgam that you want to get back, but it's also like turboing your shark
maybe
as well. Like I'm gonna get these cards back. It's 2 counters. It's like 2 bodies as well.
Like, Haunted Dead is good as somebody who played a lot of Haunted Dead. Haunted Dead is good about keeping your engine going, but it's not great for starting it because it's got to be in your yard to start with. So that doesn't really solve the first part of the problem.
Yeah, but like with Lightning Axe and Looter Scooter and Fable, like it's just a way to get it in there, and then you have your blood gas or whatever that you can then discard.
Yeah.
They need to just print Zombie Infestation in the next set into Pioneer. And then like that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But we talked about the blue, like is there like a Grixis deck where you have Shark and then the 1/2?
Maybe.
And then you're just like dump stuff out of my hand.
Just pitch your whole hand.
I saw people playing this on early access. Brass's Tunnel Grinder.
Not familiar with that one.
It's 3 mana. And you and like you can discard your whole hand.
Okay.
And then draw that many cards.
Oh, what about we were talking about it in the pre-show, Velkut's Awakening.
That doesn't discard, that puts them on the bottom, right?
Oh, maybe you're right.
So Brass's Tunnel Grinder is 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, discard any number of cards and then draw that many cards +1.
Okay.
So like Shark and that, and then you have like blood gas or stuff to get back, and you could just like like here put like 7 power on the board or more.
Yeah. Any
other thoughts on the bloodiest of gas?
No, I just kind of wanted to theory craft a little bit.
Yeah, like I also think that like Pioneer has aspects of old modern, which is like good and bad.
Yeah.
Which is like if this deck gets remotely close to good, there's so much good playable graveyard height.
Yeah.
And this deck just takes like splash damage from Phoenix, which uses its graveyard.
True.
Greasefang, which uses its graveyard. So like can this be a different angle than Greasefang?
Yeah.
Where like it just gives you like you're not as dependent on Greasefang. You like have this other thing that like does something. But like you have the like it's really easy for like if Greasefang does well in a tournament, you're just like, I can't play this deck because everyone's gonna play like 6 pieces of graveyard hate.
Yeah.
So like it'll have like, which is like good if like Pioneer gets played enough that you get that like churn.
Mm-hmm.
But Bloodghast might fall like victim to there are already a number of graveyard decks, and it's kind of hard to be the graveyard deck when there's a bunch of them.
Makes sense.
All right. We got Crypt Collar Chariot. So 3 and a black for an artifact vehicle with menace. It's a 5/5. And whenever you discard 1 or more cards, create that many tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and it has crew 2.
It seems pretty powerful. It
seems
obvious parallels to Asika's Chariot.
Azika's Chariot, I mean, there's some zombie infestation like vibes. It doesn't let you discard, but it kind of gives you a similar payoff.
Yeah.
I feel like they went like safe with it.
Because it doesn't enable
Where
itself.
well, it doesn't enable itself, but the fact that the zombies are tapped,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't just like get them and block.
Right. I mean, I think that's fine. I don't know that that's
Prob-
a huge knock to power level, because you can still, like, if you have a way to discard, you can still pitch on your opponent's turn, and then they kind of have
Mhm.
haste.
Yeah, more for like blocking or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
like a way to discard. Is there like a good like repeatable way to discard in standard? Uh People were. I remember like Saffron Olive was like Blood Flail was like the only thing he could find that just lets you like discard card as many cards as you want.
Yeah.
And I guess Brass's Tunnel Grinder also.
Yeah.
But there's not like a good way to like instant speed just like dump your hand.
Yeah.
Because like in theory, like if you discard 5 cards on your opponent's end step, just turning your entire hand into like 0 mana 2/2s is good.
Yeah.
Right, you're all in, but 0 mana 2/2s are pretty good.
What's that card from Amonkhet? Not Shallow Grave. One black mana.
Shadow of the Grave.
Shadow of the
right?
Grave, yeah.
It's 1 in the black, return all the cards that were discarded this turn.
Yeah. Put them back in your hand.
Yeah. Just dump your hand and then do that.
Yeah.
Again, see Zombie Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, like, it's bigger than Azeka's Chariot. It's harder to block.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if you have, like, it is the B in your A plus B, but even if you're not discarding stuff, a 5/5 vehicle with minutes for 4 isn't, like, embarrassing.
Right.
With crew 2, like, you should be able to crew it.
So we were kind of just brainstorming the ways to just vomit your hand. But like Lily is standard legal.
Yeah, I mean, like the grindy version of it, where you're just like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna like play my Lily uptick,
Yeah, and there's
or like play Lily down, then next turn play this uptick, get a 2/2.
Yeah, there's a there's a 4-mana Lily that does the same thing too.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Like, I don't know, like without like kind of the clear busted way to like dump your hand.
Yeah.
Right, and like I think this like if they printed like Putrid Imp.
Yeah.
Right, then this card is like amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're gonna print like just like 0 mana discard cards.
Not for standard, but there is it Olivia's Dragoon or something?
Oh yeah, discard this card to give it flying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that could work.
Yep. Forgot about that.
Or in like Pioneer, you're just like, boom, all my cards are gone.
Yep. I mean, the only thing with that strategy is it's kind of like a one and done. Like once you pitch your hand, if they have a way to deal with it, then you're just screwed.
you're dead zone.
Yeah.
But like, if you can like play something and then like on like I said on their end step get 8 power.
Yeah.
It's very much like Wrath or you're dead. Right, you would like with 4 zombies, you would in theory attack for 11.
Right.
They're like on a 2-turn clock.
Yeah. Hope they don't have a Brotherhood's End or something.
Yeah, basically like cross your fingers for no wrath.
Yeah. All right, this is another one that's kind of interesting to talk about in the same vein-ish. This is Demonic Junker, 6 and a black for a 4/3 vehicle with affinity for artifacts. And when this vehicle enters, for each player, destroy up to 1 target creature that player controls. If a creature you controlled was destroyed this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this vehicle.
So like you, even if you have a creature, you don't have to destroy it.
Right. You can if you want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah. So I put this here because it is Leyline Binding at home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's sorcery speed, right? And you're not going to get to do it on turn 2.
Right.
Ever. But, right, like, cheap removal spell that then has additional upside is good. We talked about repurposing Bay.
Yep.
there aren't good things really to go turn this into. Like, I think we looked at all of these 7 mana artifacts and really slim pickings.
Yeah.
Right? This would almost be better if it was 8 total mana.
Yeah.
Because you could get Portal to Phyrexia.
Yep.
But there's not like a hammer-like card at 8 mana.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about a card that is an artifact that stays on the battlefield as a removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
There's Tithing Blade
mm-hmm.
that comes in and they sack a creature that's an artifact. In Pioneer, there are artifact lands. They're colorless, but there are artifact lands.
Yep.
And Affinity is like kind of always good.
Yeah. There's also, in the pre-show, we were talking about game objects a little bit, and there's a lot of game objects that are artifacts. Foods, clues, constructs, whatever.
I mean, it depends on the build of your deck, but Blood Fountain gives you two artifacts.
Yep. Voldaren Epicure.
So yeah, but like Blood Fountain is like the Blood Fountain's an artifact. Yeah, so like this immediately gets down to like 4, and then you land Tithing Blade, and now you can like cast this on turn 3 pretty consistently.
Well, I mean, I don't even know that you need to do it on turn 3. Like, not that it's super relevant anymore. I mean, I think it would probably still see play, but Chupacabra was 4 mana, and it was a 2/2 that did this. So if you have 3 artifacts out, it's easier to cast than Chupacabra because it only has 1 pip, and it's almost twice as much stats.
Yeah. There was Jim Davis was playing like a blue-white what is it called? Simulacrum synthesizer deck. And was like enjoying getting to play Memory Guardian. Because like on turn 4 you could play Simulacrum synthesizer and then play Memory Guardian in the same turn and trigger and get your creature. This does like something very similar, right? Except for it's a removal spell,
right?
So like you can go, hey, like play my Simulacrum synthesizer, kill your thing, and get a token for me.
Yep. And
like having 6 artifacts in a deck that is like built to have a bunch of artifacts is probably not that difficult,
right?
So like I could see something like that working as well, where you use this as your like removal spell that also gets you a big body.
Yeah.
And they were kind of cheap, so I bought some just to, if I'm wrong, there's not a ton of downside, and if I'm right, like Leyline Bindings went from $2 to $12.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we're gonna hope that it goes up into the left, or up into the right.
You'll just have to build a deck and break it.
Yeah, I will. Which I don't have a long history of doing that, unfortunately. I've tried. It just hasn't worked out.
Yep. All right. This one's a fun one. It's Engine Rat. Single black mana for a 1/1 zombie rat with Death Touch, and you can pay 5 and a black for each opponent loses 2 life. The only reason this is here is because it's kind of a inside joke on the show. I don't know if it's ever made it. I'm sure it's made it to the actual show, but we've talked about it in pre-show a couple times. I'm a automotive technician, and I have to repair wiring pretty frequently that's been chewed on by rats, to the point that in Europe there's a specific kind of animal called a marten that is so well known for chewing up wires that Europeans have special insurance for their vehicles for marten damage.
And when I saw this card, I was like, it's that weird animal in Europe that eats wires.
Yep. Some of the test plans in our scan tool specifically reference looking for marten damage. So it's
Those are not here.
I'm gonna name this guy Martin.
There you go, Martin the Engine Rat.
Yep. Next one is one that might actually see play. This is Gas Guzzler. It's a single black mana for a 2/1 vampire rogue with Start Your Engines. I don't have to read Start Your Engines because we talked about it during the mechanics episode. This creature enters tapped, and if you have max speed, you can pay a black, sacrifice another creature or vehicle, and draw a card. So it's like the Dockside Chef.
Oh yeah,
But way more aggressive.
a way more aggressive Dockside Chef that's not on all the time.
Right.
It's kind of a weird mix of abilities, right? Like a 2/1 beatdown thing. You don't think like, oh yeah, I want an ability where I can sacrifice creatures.
Right.
I guess it's like kind of Wrath Insurance if you've like got your engine started.
Yeah.
But like I think just like as a 2/1 body, like we've seen a lot of those get played. Was it Bloodsoaked Champion saw play?
Yep. Gutter Bones.
Gutter Bones, and there's
Cult Conscript.
Yeah, it was there was Gutter Bones, and there was another one that cared about cards in hand. Right? Maybe it was Cult Conscript. I thought there was another one that like came back.
Yeah, well, Cult Conscript cared about something dying.
Or another non-skeleton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bloodsoaked Champion cared about you attacking. It had raid.
It had raid. I feel like it was a rare, right?
Yeah. I don't remember a second one that cared about cards in hand.
What was? I thought it was one that was like you could come back if you had like 0 cards in hand or 1 or less cards from like Amonkhet.
Yeah. Yep. Dread Wanderer.
Dread Wanderer. There we go.
Yep.
I knew it was in there. We knew it was in there somewhere.
Yep. Played that one. I forgot about that one.
So like these kind of cards do have like the recursive ones at least have a pedigree.
Yeah.
So like this could like in standard. I think it's definitely if there's like a black aggressive deck.
Well, I think there's a black-red aggressive deck. I've picked out like three cards that we're going to talk about that'll kind of go into this deck. So we'll get to them, but yeah, I thought this guy's worth talking about. I know when we did the mechanics episode, we talked about cheap ways to start your engine very quickly and get up to speed, and this is one of them.
Yes. All right, next up we have Gastro Raider. 2 and a black for a 2/1 vampire rogue. Has start your engines, and when this creature enters, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an instant or sorcery from it. That player discards that card, and then it has max speed. It gets +1/+1 and has menace, so it can become a 3/2 menace. I mean, it's Sin Collector, which Sin Collector was good.
Yeah, or Kite Sail Freebooter was instants and sorceries, right?
I thought it was anything, but it might be instants and sorceries.
Non-creature? Was it non-creature? There was one of those that was non-creature, I think, also.
Yeah.
No, those were both 2 mana, and this is 3 mana.
Yeah, non-creature. Yeah.
So that's kind of a knock against it. But this is another way to fire your engine up. Vampire and Rogue are both relevant creature types. And this gets a little bit bigger and has evasion once you're up to speed. So.
And like being able to like snag a removal spell like will help you get to speed.
Yep.
Or this kind of like clears the way for the next one.
Yep.
But like you have, imagine a curve of the guy we just talked about,
Gas Guzzler.
The Gas Guzzler, into like the bat. Like you take a spell out, and then you have a flyer to get in and like keep your engines going.
Yep.
Like, and then you get to play this on 3 and get another card.
Yep.
All right, I don't know what we were talking about before.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It's all right. We had yogurt issues.
All right, back from the yogurt. Next up, we have, I gotta find them.
Grim Bauble.
Grim Bauble.
This is a black mana for an artifact. When this artifact enters, target creature and opponent controls get -2/-2 till end of turn. And you can pay 2 of black and sacrifice it to Surveil 2. A couple reasons I wanted to throw this in here. The first is because it's a bobblehead.
Yeah.
Right? For your dash. It's a bobblehead. And the other is because this is I think it's an interesting little like disfigure. Because it's an artifact and sticks around and makes your demonic junker cheaper.
Demonic Junker. If you go back, Metalwork Colossus.
Gear Seeker Serpent.
Or the Memory Guardian.
Yep.
Yeah, like it does a lot of little things. It's like if Doom Foretold is ever good again, like something like this that like kills something and like you can sack it and it like not give the thing back on like Portable Hull.
Right.
Like that would be good. So it just does a lot of little things, and with like a couple affinity cards lying around, like this can be really powerful as like just a way to like cheaply get your cards down, like your costs down.
Yep.
Next up, we have Intimidation Tactics. So black for sorcery, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature from it. Exile that card. Has cycling 3, so it's kind of our like what is it? Despise?
Despise, yeah.
Is our discard spell that has like set mechanic.
Yep.
And like cycling is really good to have on a discard spell in the late game.
Oh, it definitely is. A lot of times you have to limit how many like discard spells you can run because you don't want to top deck them later on in the game. But this you can just cycle away.
Yeah, like in those Jund style decks where like you had, late in the game you had like 4 or 5 lands, being able to like send this away and like maybe find a creature or another piece of interaction is a big deal.
Yep. Then we have Calaxian.
Sure.
Hunger Tyrant. 1 black for a 7/2 legendary creature crocodile with no text after that.
It's just keyword big.
Yep.
So for fight rigging, like maybe it's better than shakedown heavy.
Could be.
But you have like, I wish it was a dinosaur because like you have the zombie, rotting Regisaur.
Yep.
And then you have Pugnacious Hammerskull.
Yep.
And Pugnacious Hammerskull cares about dinosaurs.
Not crocodiles.
So like if this was a dinosaur, like then you'd have another thing that like Pugnacious Hammerskull cared about.
Yep.
So like you could actually like attack with it more than once every other turn. But like just for like things that care about power.
Yeah, it crews really well. This can crew a Dreadnought, right?
Yeah.
For 3 mana, that's pretty good.
That's good.
With no downside, other than like it being a piece of cardboard that doesn't really matter for anything else, but
It dies to shock.
yeah, dies to shock. Or Grim Bauble.
Grim Bauble. Then we have Momentum Breaker. So 1 on a black for an enchantment. It's got start your engines. And when this enchantment enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature or vehicle of their choice. Each opponent who can't discards a card. And it has 2 sacrifice enchantment. You gain life equal to your speed. So like you can like pay 4 mana and get an edict that draws you a life. If this is like the only start your engines thing in your like the first one you've played.
Yep.
So this is better. What is it? Trial of Ambition.
Yep.
Which saw play, and I should have mentioned this for Grim Bobble as well. There's the Esper Bounce deck,
Oh yeah.
or the This Town's Not Big Enough deck,
Yep.
where Grim Bobble and this are both like upgrades on what they had in those slots to like pick up with your Pixie or your This Town's Not Big Enough.
Yep.
And like I've played against that deck in Pioneer or Explorer. And it felt really powerful. I was like, oh man, what I'm doing does not line up with them like drawing 2 removal spells off of their 2-mana spell.
Yeah.
And the fact that this gets cards out of like Control's hand is good as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's not useless. Like if they don't have a board state or whatever, they can discard a card.
Yeah.
What about, does this matter? Is there any like delirium shenanigans we can get up to where this is like an upgrade for anything they're playing?
I guess I don't know what the delirium decks look like.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of a delirium deck off the top of my head, but I didn't know. Didn't know if there was anything around like that. But this could work in like that style deck too, where you care about the enchantment type in your graveyard. So, all right, we got one more black card here. This is Quag Feast. 1 and a black for a sorcery. Choose target creature, planeswalker, or vehicle. Mill 2 cards, then destroy the chosen permanent if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard.
Giggity.
It's the Quag Feast.
Yeah. I mean, if you're self-milling a lot, and this is just like, it's like reverse, what's that blue-black card?
Drown on the Lock.
Drown on the Lock, right? Like, it cares about your graveyard. I mean, you have some control over it. And it doesn't take a lot of work for it to, like, kind of always be on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Fatal Push a thing, and then Thought sees your opponent, or Thought sees your opponent. Now on turn 2, it can kill a 3-drop.
Yep.
I think its biggest issue is that it's a sorcery.
Well, that's why in the show notes here, I have a comparison to Dreadbore. This is kind of easier to cast Dreadbore that goes in more decks, but has a downside where Dreadbore didn't. But they're both sorcery speed.
Yeah. Like, Dreadbore's downside was it was red-black.
Well, and it was sorcery speed.
Yeah. So
I guess this tags a vehicle too, which may or may not be relevant. But I guess like any vehicle that you're wanting to destroy is probably going to be a little bit harder to tag. Like you're not going to kill a Perhelion with it, probably.
No, you are not.
Yeah.
You're going to take your 13.
Yeah.
And like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I mean, could this be a thing that you like playing Greasefang, where it's just another way to get cards in your graveyard?
Yeah.
Right, like you don't have like the loot control aspect of it, but you're just like, I don't know, I'll kill your 2-drop with this and put 2 cards in my graveyard, and maybe I spike the thing that I need. Like, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, except it's also vulnerable to things that like your opponent would sideboard in versus Greasefang.
Yeah, like, you know,
Graveyard Hate.
Yeah, Rest in Peace or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess that is like the big difference between it and Dreadbore is like there are times where it's just off depending on the composition of your deck.
Right.
Or like you only have 1 card in your graveyard and like you can't kill a 4-drop with it.
Yeah.
So there is some like deck building constraint.
Yep. All right, moving on to red. The first card I put up here is Burnout Bastronaut. It's a single red mana for a 1/1 Goblin Warrior with Manache, and it has Start Your Engines. You can pay, or it has Start Your Engines, and then you can pay 2. This creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn, and if it has max speed, this creature has double strike. I put this up here because it's another way to turn on your engine on the cheap.
And it's like really hard. Like you're almost guaranteed to get to 2.
Yeah, with Menace.
Mm-hmm.
It's also
Like
Mana
on
sync
the
late in the
play,
game.
yeah, like on the play, you definitely get it.
Yep.
Saffron Olive was playing a Goblin deck from early access
Mhm.
today for his video, and he only had 2 cards for start your engines, with Bastion not being one of them.
Yeah.
And he consistently got his engine started. Like he consistently like got to max speed,
Yeah.
not even trying,
Yeah.
because of this card being evasive, and then like just other nonsense getting in later.
Yeah. Card to keep in mind if you're into red-black aggressive decks.
Yeah, and just like goblins. Like there's a
Sure.
goblin deck in standard now.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Chandra Spark Hunter. It's 3 and a red for a 4 loyalty Chandra Planeswalker. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target vehicle you control. Until end of turn, it becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. +2, sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. 0, make a 3/2 colorless vehicle artifact token with crew 1. And -7, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact you control enters, this emblem deals 3 damage to any target. So the 0 plus the static just gives you a 3/2 haste.
Yep.
Every turn. Well, I guess you can only attack with once. I put this card here mainly because, like, there's a few cards in the set, and we'll talk about more of them, that kind of break the some of the older vehicle designs.
Yeah.
Where they were like, we're gonna have a low mana cost, big power and toughness, low high crew cost.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a bunch of cards that are just like, you don't have to worry about the crew cost. Crew costs don't matter.
Yeah.
Right? You just play whatever you want. There are a bunch of ways to get around crewing this.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
What was, I think we talked about it last week. What was the new refurbish?
Tune-up.
Tune-up. Is there like a new version of the Greasefang deck where you're like refurbish, tune-up Chandra here, Perhelion, Valor's flagship?
There's the red-white guy that when your vehicles come in, they get haste and become crewed.
Yeah. You also, like, if you're a vehicle deck, you would also, and you're playing Chandra, you have access to, oh shoot, what's it called? The one from Aether Revolt. Heart of Kiran?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, I thought Heart of Kiran with this is good, where you would then get, like, to double crew off of your Chandra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was looking at Chandra for, like, you know, Colossal Plow.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Colossal Plow?
Yep.
Yeah. The Dreadnought,
yep.
Consulate Dreadnought. So those low casting cost, high crew cost vehicles. There's like 3 or 4 cards that just ignore crew costs.
Yeah.
And this is probably the best of the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was all just more like, look at all these cards that kind of break that design. No, design seems to have shifted some.
Right.
They don't have a lot of like enormous crew cost vehicles, though they do have the whatever the Genesis engine or Life engine is, the whatever it is. It's like a 6/10 with crew 6. It gives all of your artifacts +2/+2.
Yeah.
Like that's like the only like really big crew cost.
And before we move on, one more thing to note about Chandra here is this only has to tick up twice before it ults.
Yeah.
And then it sticks around.
Which is very good.
Yeah. And like that emblem's no joke if you're playing a deck full of vehicles.
Yeah, like you just like you get to do it and then you just like dump your hand and kill them.
Yeah.
And it's an artifact enters, so like zeroing to make a vehicle triggers it.
Lightning bolt.
Yeah, just everything has a bolt attached to it.
Yep. Cool card.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Count on Luck. This is red, red, red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn.
Like Outpost Siege.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 1 less mana.
Yep. Harder to cast, though.
Way harder to cast. I've seen different takes on this. Like, it seems like a lot of people are like, this, like Jim Davis, like, this kind of card isn't good enough anymore.
It might not be. I mean, it might not be at 4 mana. Is it at 3 mana?
I'm not sure. Like, it seems like a good, like, juke, like, just like you would use Outpost Siege or whatever, like, post board in your red deck.
Yeah.
You just bring this in and just get extra cards. I do worry that, like, enchantments are less fragile than they used to be.
They definitely are.
Right? Like, there's March of Otherworldly Light. There wasn't, like, an analogous card.
Right.
Out of, like, your blue-white control deck or your white-based control deck. There just wasn't a, like, card you could, like, embarrassingly play.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting in that regard. But, like, getting an extra card each turn is just good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Like, that has not stopped.
Right.
So, like, in, like, a mono red deck where you just, like, need the cards, like, this should be reasonable. It should at least be, like, a sideboard thing to consider.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, is at least sideboard playable. Moving on. What do we got next?
We've got Hazaret Godseeker, 1 on a red. For a legendary creature god, it has indestructible and haste, has start your engines, and you can pay 1 and tap it. Target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. Hazaret cannot attack or block unless you have max speed, and it is a 5/3.
It's a big body for 2 mana.
Yeah, like, this was one that I was just like, I don't, like, know if this is good. Right? Like, the earliest you can get max speed is turn 4. So, like, Bastronaut gets you 2, you play something on turn 2 that can, like, kind of force in a couple points. But, like, you can't attack with this until turn 5. Right? Because you would go, like, because you'd have to attack on turn 4.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it has that other ability, though, where it forces through damage to fuel itself, so you could...
Yeah.
Like Gas Guzzler, Astronaut. I think that kind of all fits into the same... I don't know if that deck's just mono red.
Yeah. Like, you could, like, I guess Gas Guzzler, like, and then you just use the 1 mana, like, force stuff through, and then you have this 5/3 that... I mean, we saw with, like, I forget how big old Hazaret was.
5/4.
Was it 5/4? Like, that was very difficult to deal with.
Yes.
Let's say.
Yes.
I think the big difference is we have, like, nowhere to run.
Yeah.
And so, like, that kills this. If this was a 5/4, it would, like, dodge nowhere to run.
I have to feel that was on purpose.
Yes. I agree. They were like, oh man, there needs to be some way to deal with this.
Yeah. Like, being indestructible toughness doesn't super matter other than that instance in particular.
One thing, yeah. Like, it's big enough to not get killed by the bobble.
Yeah.
But it is the right size to get nailed by the uncommon from the previous set.
Yeah.
Or 2 sets ago, however that works now.
Yeah, however that works. Next up, we have Howl Squad Heavy. 2 and a red for a 2/3 Goblin Mercenary with Start Your Engines. Other goblins you control have haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token attacks this combat if able, and it has max speed. Tap to add a red for each goblin you control.
We have wanted another Rabble Master.
We have so many Rabble Masters now. We have enough Rabble Masters to start cutting the bad Rabble Masters now.
What are the bad Rabble Masters?
I can't remember off the top of my
Squee?
head. No, I kind of like Squee because he comes back.
Legion Warboss. So like the Rabble Masters now are Rabble Master.
Right.
Then we got Legion Warboss.
Yep.
Then we got Squee.
Yep.
And now we have this.
I thought we had one more that like was kind of subpar. Maybe not.
So like the reason this is interesting is one, extra Rabble Master.
Yep.
Non-legendary. So in like older formats, like the mono red prison strategies where you're just playing like soul land plus 3 drops.
Yeah.
Right. This is a pretty good 3-drop to have.
Yep.
Also the fact that you can like play this and then play a Rabble Master that has haste.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're attacking with at that point a 6/4 Rabble Master.
That's a lot of damage.
6/4, maybe 7/2. Because like if the first token gets through, you have 3 goblins from this guy.
Right.
Plus then a goblin from Rabble Master. Yeah, it'd be 6/4. But like that gets him dead real fast. Like, okay, hey, like take, a bunch on turn 2. So like you do have like just like soul land into this guy into Rabble Master is a heck of a curve.
Definitely.
I mean, in Pioneer, we saw like Elf into Rabble Master was like a deck for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right now you have Elf into like 16 Rabble Masters.
Yes.
Right, as long as you have Elf, you have turn 2 Rabble Master.
Yep. Turn 3 2 Rabble Masters off of Coco.
Yeah, there you go. Oops, all Rabble Masters. So like just from a like, hey, this gives your goblins haste. Again, that goblin video had Krenko.
Yep.
Like Krenko coming down with haste.
Oh, that was the other Rebel Master, Krenko.
Okay.
That was the other one I was thinking of that's a little bit subpar. I don't think he's quite as good as the others.
No. But like if he has haste, he's great.
Oh, sure.
Right, so this gives him haste.
Yep.
So that is it's like a perfect curve, and like you can wait till you make your you can like wait for the token to be made at the beginning of combat.
Mm-hmm.
Then use your Krenko to get an extra goblin, and now those goblins have haste and can attack.
Yep.
So,
well, I meant the War of the Spark Krenko was the one I was talking about.
Yeah, that one's bad. Yeah. I was talking about like OG 4 mana Krenko.
Yep.
Yeah, the +1/+1 counter Krenko.
Yep.
Not as good at Krenko.
Right. Another thing that we kind of haven't touched on yet is that max speed ability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your second one of these has haste, and then can just tap for all of the mana.
Yeah. I feel like the deck that this card goes in is more interested in attacking than like making a ton of goblins. I guess like it could. Like I guess it lets you cast a Muxus and your Muxus has haste. But like by the time you are like you have max speed, you're hoping your opponent's dead on turn 4 or 5.
That's true.
Right? Like it feels like that's there almost for like Commander.
Maybe.
But it's like it's not nothing, but like it feels like the deck you want this in is you want to go like 1, 2, 3 this hasty goblin 4-drop kill you.
Yeah.
Or like Krenko. Like the Bastronaut into the whatever the Lord is. That when a goblin dies, you get a card off the top of your deck.
Runvelt
Horde Master.
Yeah, that one.
Into this, into like Krenko.
Yeah.
Right, like that's what you, and then just like they're dead.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you're not like, oh man, I'm gonna tap this guy for 8. It's like they should already be dead. Like, are you gonna cast Karavik's Torch? Like, what are you doing with this mana? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So, but like it just feels like it's like a tacked on ability. Like we had like what, 1 red all goblins get haste.
Well, there's
Goblin War Chief.
no War Chief made your goblins cheaper.
Okay.
We had that. Was it Battlecry Goblin from AFR? Had like 1 in a red. Goblins get haste and +1/+0 till end of turn.
Yeah. And like that was powerful.
Yeah. And this could fuel that pretty well.
Mm-hmm. You just tap it and you're just like,
yep,
make huge goblins. Okay.
So there's that other guy too. The 3 mana, I think he's a 2/3 Goblin Lord that lets you tap and deal a damage for each goblin that entered the battlefield this turn.
I vaguely remember that one. Okay.
I mean, if you're playing all Rabble Masters, I would imagine you have lots of goblins entering the battlefield.
You probably do, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, so like, I think the combination of giving all your other goblins haste with the Rabble Master ability, and this has an extra point of toughness.
Yeah.
Right, like there's just so much there. Like, is it better than Legion War Boss? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Right, like that might be your bad Rabble Master where you play like 2 squeeze, this and Rabble Master, and then like you've trimmed some of your Legion War Bosses. You're like, you're down to 2, so you have 12 total Rabble Masters.
I don't think that's enough Rebel Masters.
It's probably not. Probably need a few more.
I think you need 16.
There you go. All right. Maybe the most. Oh wait, no, wrong card. I thought it was the next one. Next one.
Next
one's the guy. All right. So this is Mabmakin Artillerist. It's 2 in a red for a 1/4 Elemental Pirate. When you discard 1 or more cards, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent. It has cycling for 1 in the red, and when you cycle this card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. It is an extra Draenus Stinger.
I think I like this guy better than Draenus Stinger.
It's a little harder to kill.
Mm-hmm. It costs more
for
mana.
2 instead of 1. Yeah, it cycles for 2 instead of 1.
But it also cares about more than just cycling.
It does. Like, all of the cards in this set care. It does care about more than cycling, which they've done with all the cards. Like, it does, like, if you're in, like, a cycling or discard focused deck, right, it does, like, especially for cycling, like, having, like, extra Draenus Stingers is useful.
Yeah.
There is, like, a niche interaction for a niche deck.
That's my favorite
Pauper.
kind.
You know about Cycle Storm?
Yeah.
So, Bryant Cook did a short video about this, like did just like a YouTube short or whatever. And he pointed out, he was like, I didn't like this card, but then I think one of the people that he like does the Epic Storm with, the website pointed out that if you go to cleanup and you have a handful of cards from casting a bunch of Reaping the Graves,
oh yeah,
you can just discard to hand size and deal damage.
Yeah.
So like you can just focus on like, I've got to get to 22 cards in hand.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about having mana left over to cycle my stuff because at cleanup, I'm just going to dump my whole hand.
I like it.
And deal damage that way. So like if you have a way to like fill your hand up and then discard to hand size.
Yeah.
It does a lot of work.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that guy's cool.
And now maybe the most playable card from the set.
What's this one? I'll let you take it.
This is Marauding Mako. It's red for a Shark Pirate. It's a 1/1. And whenever you discard 1 or more cards, you may put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. And it has cycling too.
So I got a quick aside before we talk about this card.
Okay.
I feel like your favorite cards are 1 red mana.
I mean, they do a lot.
You have
they're
Faithless Looting. Insolent Neonate. Marauding Mako.
These are all cards in the cube. Like and they all play very well together.
They do.
So I've been messing around with like a red-white cycling deck. in anticipation of this guy, and like Flourishing Fox can just win games on its own.
Yeah.
And having an extra Flourishing Fox, they're definitely. I was playing the Menace guy, whatever it's called, the one and the 1/2.
Yeah.
That gets +1/+0 till end of turn. There's a lot of times I was like, man, I wish this was like a 5/5 right now, as opposed to like being a 3/2. Right. So the fact that it gets to keep the counters is a big deal.
Yep.
The fact that it randomly has cycling in the deck is also like late game when you don't need this, you get to send it away, as opposed to the other guy.
Look for your Zenith Flare.
Yeah, and like it also adds to your count for Zenith Flare.
Yep.
So all good things. Like I think there could be a Flourishing Fox Marauding Mako deck where you're just like you play all the 1-mana cyclers from what's it called? From no, it was the big place. Ikoria.
Oh, yeah.
Like the 1-mana cyclers from Amonkhet had a color. Where the 1-mana cyclers in Ikoria
sure, but
didn't.
I mean the Ceradon was red.
Yeah. But what I mean is like they were like a red mana versus a colorless.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that matters, right?
Well,
like
I mean if you're playing a red-white deck, like,
hopefully it doesn't.
Mana's good enough where I don't think that matters.
Hopefully.
Like, I mean, you have enough red-white lands where you don't have to play any basics if you don't want, and they would all like come into play untapped.
There's only 12 that come into play untapped. They give you both, right?
Well, conditionally. Like you have Inspiring Vantage, Battlefield Forge, Sacred Foundry.
Yep.
Whatever the Zendikar land is.
Yep.
So that's 16. There's got to be another one.
I don't think. None that comes into play untapped. Because like I was playing all of those in a Plains. And then
what about the show land? Well, I guess that wouldn't matter if you're not playing.
Yeah. Like the land, the Verge, the red-white Verge, like is white initially. So like if you like load it up on like white cyclers.
Well, there's like that single white angel too.
And I was playing 2 Den of the Bugbear as like extra ways to have some like reach if things go sideways.
Yeah.
But like this, like that deck with a card we'll talk about later, seemed to be reasonable. I won't say it was good, but it seemed reasonable, and it's like I think the artifact we're going to talk about later, what Monument to Triumph, might shore up some of the problems with the deck. But like this, definitely like getting to do this and like put 2 counters on turn 2 and attack, having like 8 draws at that. Or eight cards that let you like turn 2 attack for 3.
Yeah.
And maybe just turn 3 attack for 6.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're like you've seen a bunch of your deck, your Zenith Flare does 5. And if they kill it, you're just like, okay, I have like all these other angles that you now have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean the other cool thing about that deck is aside from the artifact and whatever your mana base is, the entire deck is commons and uncommons.
It is. Like there's nothing that's higher rarity. It's all uncommons. Like if it wasn't for the mana base, like it would be exceedingly cheap. And like you could probably build it in such a way that it could almost be mono, red. Like I guess you need like the other Flourishing Fox. Or you need Flourishing Fox and Zenith Flare, but like you see a ton of your deck. So it could be super cheap. And I mean, the rare, the artifact is $10 right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's pre-release prices, so it probably won't be that much. It's either gonna get played in Modern and be like $60, or it's gonna be like $3. Like it's
nowhere in the middle.
Nowhere in the middle. So yeah. But I think this card will definitely, like, in Hollow One and Modern,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is, either your second, like, 1-drop that cares about discarding, or you cut the other guy.
Yeah.
Like, you play this and then Burning Inquiry,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like, it's a 4/4.
Yep.
And then you're like, you play some Hollow Ones, and you're, like, attacking for 16 on, like, turn 3. Seems real good.
Seems good to me.
I mean, like, this into Burning Inquiry is just, like, you got 8 power on turn 2 without having to use Hollow Ones.
Right.
And then whatever other stuff you get from your Hollow Ones.
Yeah, heaven forbid Hollow Ones or Vengevines or whatever other nonsense you're doing.
Yeah, so, like, this just gives that deck, like, another line of attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, there's probably a Pioneer deck for it.
Yep.
There's a ready-built Modern deck for it.
Yep.
So, like, it just seems like it has, like, enough homes that you can do something with it.
I agree. Good card is good.
Yeah, so, got anything else?
I don't. We will pick up with green next week.
Yeah.
And should be able to finish it out next week. So
Hopefully.
if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about after we're done with this set, like I mentioned earlier, if there's any kind of cool Bloodghast brewing to do, if that's something you guys want to hear about, or the cycling deck, if you guys want to hear about that, I'd be down to do a brainstorming deck building episode. We haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah. So with that, I think we got a show.
We got a show.
So again, if you want to reach out to us about show ideas, things you want us to talk about, cards we may have missed, all those links for social media stuff are in the description. If you're going to be in Chicago, say hey, let me know. Maybe we can cube it up or something.
Yeah, hit us up. We always love hearing from you. If you're looking to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, do your shopping, support the show at the same time. If you want to support us more directly, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG is how you can do that. Chip a couple bucks in, you get access to the show notes, so you get to see all these cards that we're talking about. You also get access to about another hour of content out of us every week in the form of our Unshow, where we talk about anything and everything, completely unscripted, unedited, piped right into your ears. If any of that sounds good, or if you just want to support the show, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG.
So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internets.